Good evening and welcome to another series of satirical news-based panel games which two teams contest and Paul Merton wins. In news since we've been away, relations between the government and the media hit an all-time low as a BBC cameraman lets his feelings get the better of him during a John Major walkabout. In London, Robin Cook agrees to take part in a televised debate on the state of British theatre with Stephen Fry. And Bruce Grobbelaar denies his income's dramatically increased as he strolls into the dining room of his new family home. On Ian Hislop's team, a Labour MP who was at school with Clive Anderson and Michael Portillo, the only difference being that since then she's been on Clive Anderson, but not as far as we know on Michael Portillo. Please welcome Diane Abbott. And with Paul Merton tonight, a man who this week has been tipped to become the new host of the Generation Game, presumably because he'll be able to combine Bruce Forsyth's role with Rosemary Ford's costumes, Julian Clary. So, one gay man and one black woman, that's fulfilled the BBC minorities quota. And for the rest of the series, it's back to white males from Cambridge. So, having offended everyone in the opening 90 seconds, let's now barge into round one, our equally offensive film round. Ian and Diane, tuck into this.
Now this is the entire cabinet trying to escape the country. No, this is the veal in... This is the veal...
Now that's what I call a balanced bit of BBC footage.
No, that was the veal in crate story.
Veal in crate story?
Veal in crate.
Oh, it looked like someone being beaten up story to me.
But this is a difficult one for my Tory colleagues in Parliament, because if these demonstrators are sort of minors, the Tories would be jumping up and down and saying these hooligans, they should go to the electric chair. But that's the little old ladies with grey curls. It's a little sticky for them.
Little old ladies with grey curls?
You saw the little old lady with the grey curls.
Little old lady with a Rottweiler and SWP.
I think
Death to the Tories.
Little old lady.
She's old doesn't mean she's not violent. You've got to watch those grannies, I tell you. Bunch of trots.
The most famous resident offshore and by sea, where some of the protests are taking place, is Derek Jameson, the Daily Radio 2 listeners' favourite. So the residents there know all about mindless cruelty to sad old cows. Paul and Julian, this is one to forget.
Yes, two women. Hello, Rent-a-Kill. I'm going to kill you, old bag. Torval and Dean have had kids. And aliens have left their forward in number in a field.
Completely incorrect.
Well, I was going to say something. It's every man for himself here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Do you find that an unusual position to be in?
Please, yes. I feel it's going to get terribly camp around here. Yes, do, by all means.
What was that under your breath?
Any form of answer would be welcome, yes.
Not much of it, is there?
No.
In the flesh.
It's not in the flesh, no.
Anyway, it's about the new phone. We all have to put one in whenever you dial a number now. If there's an O, you put one in or something. That's what that was all about.
That's right.
Marks, please.
And you'll get them in the fullness of time.
Do we get a bonus for knowing what code that is?
0115, yeah, all right.
I don't know. Just asking.
Birmingham.
It's not Birmingham, it's Nottingham. So I get 2 points, I think. Ian and Diane, nothing but the truth, please.
That's Jonathan Aitken and Some Shake. That's some woman. Oh, bubbles.
Those are some arms.
Some arms.
That's Jonathan Aitken again, raising his simple sword of truth. That's Inglewood Help Hydro.
Oh, brilliant. No.
You can tell.
You'll make the front bench in the next government. Some of the Labour Party can read. Well, pretty good.
Well, that's Jonathan Aitken, as I said, raising his simple sword of truth and leading into battle against people like you.
Yes, cancerous journalists spreading filth throughout the country. That's my job. is actually amazing. Jonathan Aitken is suing The Guardian over the suggestion that he procured women for these Saudis. You know, that's obviously a disgraceful suggestion. The fact that he procured arms for them, no problem. Cabinet Minister's obviously not a pimp. He's a merchant of death, which is fine, really.
Seems reasonable.
Anyway, he's launched this crusade, launching a simple sword of truth and the trusty shield of British fair play, which is pretty good, because you should read the Alan Clark diaries. There's a wonderful bit in it about him and Jonathan Aitken spreading black propaganda about people they don't like, tipping off the press to do so. So that's the sort of clean-up we want. You know, Jonathan Aitken never made it to the cabinet for years because he made Carol Thatcher cry. He went out with her for years and then he made her cry. And Mrs. Thatcher thought, right, we're not having him in the cabinet. He was also selling arms which competed with her son. Anyway, I don't want to go on about Jonathan Aitken because he's a friend of Diane.
No, he's not a friend of mine.
Is he not?
But he is godfather to your son, though, isn't he?
Well, every child should have an interesting godfather, and he is interesting.
What am I?
Yeah!
Yes, it is the outrageous allegation, naturally denied by Tory Minister Jonathan Aitken, that he tried to arrange girls for business contacts and that he knew that VMark, a company of which he was the director, was illegally selling arms to Iran. Other directors knew, the police knew, his government knew, but he says he didn't know. So too deceitful to be a minister or too dim to be a minister seems to be the issue. Paul and Julian, a bit of a poser for you.
Oh, what's that? Oh, it's tough. Tried to polish his stumps.
No, well, this is Eric Cantona, isn't it, who got arrested for kicking a bloke in the cheek seat. And now he's sentenced to sort of like, you know, teaching young people to play football.
Community
service, yeah.
He's advising all the young boys not to get into trouble with the rest.
Are you happy with our answer?
Vaguely, yes. I mean, it's sort of...
He's a poet, isn't he?
Has the right sort of element.
What women like him?
Women like
Yeah,
him.
they do, yeah.
I can't see myself.
No, I can't. You see, people appear different on television. We know he looks like that.
Yeah. So very thin lips.
Mean lips.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say mean, but
No.
nothing to get your teeth into.
Yeah, well, I suppose I can give you 1 point now. Before the training session, Cantona was instructed by officials to tell the youngsters, play fair, it's not good to foul, or as he translated into French, attaquer tout le monde. Which French farce dropped the trousers on this initial round, and the scores, well, it seemed to be, at the moment at least, that Paul and Julian have a slight but insignificant 3, whilst Ian and Diane boast a magnificent 4. So to round 2, this week taking the form of our Great Escape round, in which we cordially invite the teams to emulate the achievement of so many prisoners this year by escaping from some of this country's maximum security prisons. So Paul and Julian, here's a map of Parkhurst. Using your skill, judgment and knowledge of old Peter Sellers films, your job is to find a way out, starting from B-Wing. 2 points for getting anywhere near the escape route selected earlier this year by 2 murderers and an arsonist.
Well, it's not quite right, this map. This is the disco. And that's the herb garden. So anyway, they come out the window here.
Yeah.
Let's say there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Slasher Charlie.
Slasher Charlie.
That's 2 of them.
Oh, that's 2 of them, is it? No, right.
Who's the other one? Nobby.
Yeah. Slasher Charlie and Nobby. So who's the leaders, you think?
Well, Slasher.
All right.
And they go in here to get a few herbs.
Yeah.
Fill the pockets
Yeah.
there with the herbs. And, oh, look, they see the wall.
Yeah, so they go over the wall.
Are you with me so far?
I'm with you so far. It looks very plausible to me.
Then they're on the top of the wall.
Yeah.
Slasher jumps down first.
Yeah.
Says, come on, lads.
That's Nobby and Charlie.
Yeah. Nobby's a bit scared.
Yeah, you think?
He's lost his bottle.
Has he really?
So, the other one pushes him.
Yeah. I think that's very plausible, but I also think it could possibly be that, right, they tunnelled out of the metal workshop, right, using the tools, into the middle of the football pitch, about there. His head pops up just as a penalty's being taken. Knocks the head clean off the body, straight into the tennis court, would you believe it? That's knocked backwards and forwards for about half a match, and then it goes over the wall and he's away. And if you look carefully, you can see him getting away in a minicab.
No, I can't give you any points at all, though not one element of it was even faintly correct. I'll tell you the correct way out of Parkhurst for any prisoners there watching. It is to do what the 3 inmates did a few months ago, which was to spend several weeks in the metal workshop constructing a large ladder-shaped metal object and a small key-like thing. They then shaved off their beards and moustaches, changed their hairstyle, and suddenly all went to a late-night gym session for the first time in their lives. That was in the gym block just by the outer wall. In fact, one officer saw them climbing over a perimeter fence, but he said he assumed that they were just retrieving a tennis ball. Ian and Diane, map of Elmley Prison in Kent. Your job is not so much to break out of Elmley as to break in, as a man recently did, in order to beat up one of the inmates. So how did you get in?
What happens is, you go to the front gate, you say, "Good evening, I'm Lord Longford. I'd like to come and visit someone." They say, "Certainly, come in. Do you want to help them escape as well?"
It's not that bad an answer. It's pretty close to what actually happened. The man who broke into Elmley hit upon the ingenious ruse of presenting himself at the front gate and asking to be let in.
That's what
on the grounds that he was a lawyer, in fact.
Really, we should be inside anyway.
I noticed that you sort of looked at the map and didn't find anything even remotely surprising about there being a golf course.
There's no scale.
Getting bored or something. In return for their golf perks, the prisoners do have to suffer various indignities. They're visible from the road, for example, in their humiliating regulation uniform of lemon yellow Pringle jumpers and loud check flares. All of which harmless escapism brings us tunnelling towards round 3, and a quick count reveals that, well, Paul and Julian are lagging behind with 3, whilst Ian and Diane are beginning to turn the screw with 6. Well, time now for our odd one out round, which, by way of a change, is no different from usual. So, Paul, your 4 sets of matching eyebrows are Sam Haman, Michael Fay, John Gorman, and Kilroy.
I think this guy John Gorman, isn't he the one who was the victim of this, what would you call it, a dirty tricks campaign by British Airways? He complained about a flight or the service or the food or something, and they started phoning him up in the middle of the night saying, "Leave it. Drop it or you're a dead man," this sort of stuff. And Sam Haman, what has he done? About a year ago he defaced some walls, didn't he, in a dressing room somewhere.
Who is he?
He's the chairman of Wimbledon Football Club.
Oh.
Michael Fay, he's the guy in Singapore, isn't he, that sort of damaged some property or a car or something, or spilled paint or something, or I don't know, something like that. You get that thing on walls, don't you? Kilroy was here. So there is a definite something there, isn't there? Is it Margaret Thatcher? Kilroy must be the odd one out, because he's the one that appears, his name appears on walls, and the other ones have defaced the wall. Or maybe, no, he's the odd one out. John, what's his name? Because he's not he doesn't deface walls at all.
It is painful to have to say that you're absolutely right, yes. Yes, the answer is that all of them have been responsible for outbreaks of graffiti, except John Gorman. Gorman is a retired and disabled police officer, a hero of the Brighton bomb rescue, who complained to British Airways when he swallowed broken glass in his brandy on a flight to New York. While he was in hospital, his car was vandalised with spray paint. Police were baffled as to which organisation could have done this. They examined flakes of paint and studied footprints, but still had no clue as to who could have sprayed "No Win with British Airways" all over his car. The chairman of Wimbledon Football Club, Sam Haman, was caught scrawling obscene graffiti on a changing room wall at West Ham. In his defence, he claimed that if he'd been allowed to finish, he was actually going to write "West Ham are a bunch of Kanjurangos." The Kanjurango, of course, being a Peruvian climbing shrub. Michael Fay was sentenced to be birched after confessing that he'd spray-painted cars around Singapore. TV presenter Robert Kilroy Silk, for many the epitome of a Kanjurango, was quite possibly the originator of the famous graffiti phrase "Kilroy was here," or at least we're putting it around that he was, because we understand he's visiting Singapore very soon. Julian, Princess Diana is your first.
Oh.
Helena Bonham Carter, I'm sure she isn't. Helena Bonham Carter, John Gorman again, and Oliver Hoare.
What was the top one, right one?
Helena Bonham Carter, the lovely Helena
Right.
Bonham Carter.
She has slept with Prince Charles.
That's not much of a scandal, actually, Julian.
Yeah, but it's a rarity.
No. She's giving him marks out of 10 now. No, this is the man that she was alleged to have phoned up. Okay, so he's had nasty phone calls, and so this...
Yeah. John Gorman.
John?
Yeah.
We just call him John.
Yeah, John, we know him well enough by now.
I met John Gorman.
So anyway...
Before he first appeared in Private Eye. That was an advertisement by myself.
That we look forward to being edited out.
Helena there, I expect she's had phone calls. That she didn't want. And he's had phone calls, we know that. Silent ones, and he's had them from British Rail, so I should think...
British Rail?
That well-known airline.
Yeah, well, and...
Well,
They
it's
sometimes
Phil's
can't
favourite
take off.
airline.
They can't take off because it's the wrong type of cloud.
So I'd say the Princess
Leaves
of
on the
Wales is the odd one out, because she hasn't, as far as we know, received any unwanted phone calls.
Is the right answer. Well done. John Gorman received a call that was traced to British Airways security office telling him, "We'll get you next time, you arsehole." British Airways later apologised and said they got the wrong number. It was supposed to be a person-to-person call to Richard Branson. Gorman also got a call warning him, "Any morning now, nice and early, we're coming to arrest you, smart-ass. We think you're a raving poofter." He was going to report the incident to Heathrow Police Station until the call was traced to Heathrow Police Station. Princess Diana is the odd one out because she made nuisance phone calls to her friend Oliver Hoare in a fit of depression. It's believed that she may have got the idea after overhearing Prince Philip saying that when he got lonely, he always phoned the Hoares. Being,
Is that true, Angus?
phoning Oliver and Diane Hoare, yeah. As I mentioned, I think. Diane, here's your four seemingly unconnected individuals. John Gorman, Winnie Mandela, and Bruce Grobbelaar.
Bruce Grobbelaar has been accused of taking bribes, and he's from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. The other John Gorman, I don't know at all.
Same bloke in disguise.
Same bloke in disguise,
It is,
isn't
yeah,
he?
it used to be in the scaffold.
He did, although we're not giving you any points for that, unfortunately. If it were pop quiz, I'm sure you get two. So the answer?
The answer? John Gorman.
And which particular John Gorman and why is the other piece of information we need to have?
I'll make a stab at the British Airways John Gorman. Because he hasn't taken bribes, and he's not from South Africa.
Neither is right, sadly.
sorry.
Neither the person nor the reason, so I'll have to throw it over.
Only one of them was in the scaffold.
That's a pathetic answer, Ian, and you know it. Paul and Julian?
John Gorman from the scaffold is the odd one out. He has no South African connection that is obvious to the naked eye.
Well, I'll give you one for guessing the right person. The answer is that all of them have been subject of police raids, except John Gorman. No prizes for guessing which one. The John Gorman that didn't present his was raided by 7 policemen and a British Airways official who arrested him and took away all the legal papers relating to the action against the airline. They were later returned with a piece of BA-headed notepaper bearing the message, "Happy Holiday, Arsehole." Obviously the slogan that came a close second to the world's favourite airline. Police investigating the soccer bride scandal raided Bruce Grobbelaar's home. They're now looking for a shadowy Southeast Asian who is known only as the Short Man. Well, that narrows it down a bit. They're also looking for someone called the Blind Man, about whom all they know is that he's not blind, which has rather cast doubt on the progress of the Short Man inquiry. And finally, Ian, your international assortment consists of Saddam Hussein, Shoko Asahara, Dennis the Termite, and John Gorman.
Well, only one of them's in ZZ Top. Well, Saddam Hussein is tried to gas people, gassed a lot of people. This man, who's leader of that lunatic Japanese sect, has been accused of gassing people.
Shoko.
Shocker, that is the name.
Shoko.
Anyway, the termite. the termite
yes.
emits gas from, I don't know where it emits it from. And there's John Gorman, the hero of this programme, whose story first appeared in Private Eye, just in case you edited out the line.
Yes,
They tried to gas him, I think. There was some incident involving gas.
Yes, the odd one out is, of course, our old mate John Gorman, as all the others have released dangerous gases into the atmosphere. John Gorman was himself gassed by two men who burst into his home, sprayed gas into his eyes, and smashed his head repeatedly against the wall, shouting, "This is what you get when you mess with British Airways."
This is all absolutely true.
Suddenly, Aeroflot seemed such an attractive proposition. All of which aerial bombardment brings us reeling to the end of this round. And a quick glance at the arrivals board shows that, well, neither team has the remotest interest in winning, both settling for 8 points. Round 4 is normally our missing words round, but this week it appears to be missing. So instead we're going to step into the world of custodial sentencing for a remarkably similar round entitled Going Down. Each team gets a list of crimes together with the sentences that were actually...
Master of the single entendre.
Maybe she start on me.
No worries there, Julian.
I'll try and hide my disappointment.
It'd be a challenge, though, wouldn't it?
I'll do it for charity.
Yeah, or you could do it on You Bet. In 3 minutes. You could have him tied up against the wall.
I'd have to be.
Where were we? Oh, yeah. Each team gets a list of crimes together with the sentences that were actually handed down for them, using your skill, judgment, and any experience that you may have had appearing in court at all. Any of you? Just imagine that you're wearing a wig and stockings, if imagination is needed, and fill in the following blanks, Ian and Diane. 28 days for juror who what?
Was watching the OJ trial on his Sky television.
Certainly not true. He
It's
made
a
it.
great trial, the OJ trial. I mean, well, I think so. He's obviously guilty. It's the way the law...
Obviously guilty on national television. You just contempt your prejudicing the case.
So was it 28 days for watching the OJ trial on their little mini television set?
No, but that could have led to what he did.
They fell asleep.
Yes. Nodded off in court is the right answer. Next, 28 days for juror who what?
Nodded off in court.
It's not quite that simple, Ian.
28 days for juror who invented the concept of February.
Completely wrong. 28 days for juror who swore at judge for jailing him for 28 days. Next, £2 fine for prisoners doing what in Group 4 prison?
Smoking lobster caviar.
Not that.
Well, I'm going to give you one for being closer than anyone else. Having sex is the right answer. Right, so Paul and Julian, 12 months driving disqualification for trying to ram a police car with what?
Mike Smith.
Is it Reliant Robin or something silly like that?
It's not even that fast.
Bicycle?
Oh, it's an electric wheelchair.
You're getting dangerously close. I'll give you one. It's a speeding milk float. Which we probably would have got eventually. Next, what's a Bangkok man in multi-million-pound fraud?
Electric blanket.
Fingernail saver.
It is...
Hitting the soles of his feet with a table tennis bat.
Is that what they do over there?
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. Tends to ruin the game a bit, though.
The answer, in fact, is 141,678 years. And finally, 2 years for Whitehall charwoman who did what with top-secret military documents?
Climaxed.
Yes.
Is it lambarded?
Thank you for changing the subject. No, it isn't. It's rather a sweet answer, actually. 2 years for a Whitehall charwoman who covered her jam pot. And she got 2 years and a £500 fine for mention. I don't know, her name's Ivy Cannon, if you want to go and visit her.
I want to write something.
All of which criminal waste brings to an end this evening's proceedings, and the final verdict is that this week's villains of the piece are Ian and Diane with 11, whilst this week's fair cops are Paul and Julian with 14. So an opportunity to drive Julian Tailforth home to our winners, an opportunity to drive her boyfriend home to our losers. And I leave you with news that in his search for a birthday present for Princess Diana, Charles orders the one thing that she's never had. At a crowded London party, someone shouts, "Oi, dickhead," across the room.
You see, Diane? It's the lashback.
And at Heathrow Airport, John Gorman's luggage is checked into British Airways handling area. Good night.